Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're diving back into the world of Allan Smithee, our favorite due diligence detective. And we're going to explore some of his, well, let's just say, unorthodox tactics.
Yeah, unorthodox but effective. And for anyone who missed our last deep dive on Allan, he's kind of a legend in the due diligence world. He's known for uncovering the truth behind those overly optimistic investment pitches.
Right. He keeps his real name a secret.
Exactly. It's all very hush-hush. Keeps those target companies and their bankers from prepping for his visits.
He's like a financial ghost.
Exactly. And today, we're going to dig into his playbook. We're going to uncover some of his most effective tactics, and who knows, maybe you can even use a few of these in your own life.
Right. Who hasn't wanted to channel their inner detective at some point?
Okay, let's jump right in, and we're going to start with Allan's take on, pre-meeting questionnaires, those detailed lists of questions that, you might send over before a site visit.
Yeah, those.
Allan says ditch them completely. His argument is, and it makes sense when you think about it, when you give a company a heads up about your specific areas of interest, it's like giving them the answers to a test.
Right. They're going to be so ready with a carefully crafted response to every single question.
Exactly. By withholding those specific questions, he's basically, he keeps them on their toes a little bit. He increases the chances of seeing those unplanned reactions, those little slips that reveal what's really going on.
Yeah, he talks about watching for those nervous tics, those verbal hedges, people avoiding eye contact.
All those little tells.
Exactly. The stuff that you just can't fake.
You can't prepare for that.
It's human nature.
Exactly.
And that actually leads perfectly into tactic number 2. Psychology takes center stage here.
It's not just about understanding the numbers. It's about understanding the people behind the numbers.
Especially the ones at the top. So during those meetings with the C-suite, he is all about flattery. He's showing that genuine interest. Maybe he'll even throw in a compliment on their office decor.
Right. Make them feel good.
But, as Allan puts it, and I love this, he says, never inhale the intoxicating smoke of riches to be.
Don't get caught up in their grand vision.
Right. So, while he's busy charming the C-suite, he is discreetly shifting his focus. He's zeroing in on the people who are actually doing the work.
The engineers.
The accountants.
The ones in the trenches.
Yes. He argues that those employees are often a lot less guarded.
They're more likely to, maybe speak candidly, especially if they think the suits aren't really listening.
It's like that old saying, loose lips sink ships. Except in this case, it might be, a casual comment about a production delay or a whispered concern about a product flaw that really reveals what's going on.
I mean, Allan tells a story about a time he was, just walking past a break room and overheard these engineers discussing this, pretty significant product defect.
Right.
A detail that completely contradicted what the company was saying publicly. Had he been in a formal meeting, they never would have spoken so freely.
Right. Which brings us to another tactic, one that I think, honestly, we can all relate to. Tactic 3. Dress down.
Ditch the suit.
Ditch the suit.
Allan is a huge believer in, ditching that whole power suit, stuffy investor persona. He says if you want people to open up, you've got to blend in. You've got to make them feel comfortable.
Yeah. Nobody really, I don't think, feels comfortable when they're trying to impress someone with a title or, a perfectly tailored suit.
It's about finding common ground.
Exactly.
Allan says he'll chat with the sales team, talk shop with the engineers. He'll even bond over a Dilbert cartoon.
Oh, that's great.
It's just something to break the ice.
Now, this next tactic, this one always makes me think of, those spy movies where they're, listening in on conversations and gathering intel from these really unexpected places. It's tactic 4. Allan calls it sitting in the back seat.
He says it's those, seemingly unimportant moments, the ones where people kind of forget you're there, forget you're listening. That's when they really let their guard down.
So he's eavesdropping.
Well, not exactly. I mean, he's not planting bugs or anything. It's more about using those off-guard moments to his advantage.
Being a fly on the wall.
Right, exactly. Yeah. He'll be in the backseat of a car, company reps driving him between sites. Maybe he's on his phone, looks totally distracted, but his ears are wide open.
Because people they loosen up, right? They think the important part of the visit is over.
Exactly. He'll overhear a manager on the phone, maybe complaining about a project's, completely unrealistic deadlines.
Wow.
And wouldn't you know it, that little tidbit completely contradicts what the company's been promising in their presentations, about like timely delivery and all that.
It's those little slips, those unguarded moments of honesty that really can tell the whole story.
It's like they say, the truth will out.
It always does. Speaking of honesty, Allan has a particular soft spot for a certain group of people, which brings us to tactic number 5. Ask the engineers.
Oh, he loves the engineers.
They're his favorite, right?
Calls them his secret weapon.
The engineers. So what is it about engineers that Allan finds so insightful?
Well, he believes they're just wired differently, from, say, the sales team or even the executives.
Okay.
Less concerned with, spinning a narrative, more focused on the technical realities, the nuts and bolts of how things actually work.
Right, the ones who have to actually build the thing.
Exactly. And because their world is all about, logic and data, they're less likely to sugarcoat things.
They're going to give it to you straight.
Straight up. If the product has flaws, they'll tell you. If the project's running behind schedule, they're not going to, try to pretend everything's fine.
No, they're problem solvers.
Exactly. Now, tactic number 6. This one might seem a little counterintuitive, but it's all about using a more, shall we say, roundabout approach.
Okay, tactic 6, feign confusion. This is a good one. I bet this is fun to watch in action.
Oh, it can be. So instead of directly challenging information that seems, a little iffy, Allan plays dumb.
Like he'll intentionally misinterpret things.
Yeah.
Ask really obvious questions.
He might.
Just to get them to
over-explain.
Over-explain.
Exactly.
Oh, that's good. Because then
And it's amazing. People just jump in to clarify, They want to make sure he gets it.
Right. And in their eagerness to convince him,
They overshare.
They
contradict something they said earlier.
Or maybe just accidentally confirm a suspicion he already had.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so clever. And it makes you realize, how much information we probably miss when we're so busy trying to, look smart and like we've got it all figured out.
Right.
All right. What's next on Allan's, detective checklist here?
Well, tactic number 7, this one's all about connecting the dots. Allan actually calls this one, see if everyone is on the same page.
I like that.
He's a big believer in cross-checking information.
Makes sense, especially, with these companies who are really good at presenting these, these really airtight narratives.
Exactly, because even the most well-rehearsed story can start to unravel if you just, you dig a little deeper, compare notes from different sources. And sometimes it's about catching a blatant lie, but honestly, more often than not, it's this little inconsistency.
About hesitation.
Yeah, when someone hesitates or they over-explain a little too much,
right.
That's where the real story comes out.
It's about, not just seeing the picture they're painting for you, but like actually, you know what I mean, looking at the whole thing.
It's an all picture.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that actually leads into tactic number 8, which is make them keep their commitments.
Oh, I like this one.
This one's all about following up, those promises of data.
We'll send you a report.
Yeah. You'll have it by end of day tomorrow.
Yeah, we've all been there.
And then crickets.
Or you get that, like, that hastily put together spreadsheet that just creates more questions.
Exactly.
It's like answers.
Allan says that, oftentimes it's the information that's slow to arrive.
Oh, interesting.
Or that, gets conveniently misplaced, shall we say. That's the stuff you really need to see.
Right, that's the really good stuff.
He tracks everything.
Heart.
Every promise of data.
Oh, wow.
Any offer of clarification. He knows that their willingness to actually follow through or not speaks volumes.
It's like a little test.
It is a test. Okay, tactic number 9. This is one I think, again, we can probably all relate to. Never assume the detail agrees with the summary.
Oh, yeah.
Allan's a big believer in going beyond those glossy presentations.
Don't just take their word for it.
Go deep, look at the spreadsheets, examine those invoices, really get into the weeds. He argues that it's in the details, those granular level insights where the real story often unfolds.
Become a detective of data.
Exactly.
Love it. All right, we are on to our final tactic.
This one requires a little finesse and, well, a healthy disregard for the, let's call it the traditional meeting schedule.
Okay, lay it on me.
Tactic number 10. When is as important as who and how?
Oh, this sounds like classic Allan Smithee, a little, unorthodox, but I'm sure effective. What's the strategy?
Well, it's all about choosing your moments strategically. Because Allan believes you can often glean the best information outside of that, that formal meeting setting or a carefully orchestrated site visit.
So like showing up unannounced.
He might?
At odd hours.
Maybe.
A little cloak and dagger, don't you think?
Perhaps, but there's a method to his madness. He might, casually pop in during lunch, maybe arrive crazy early for a meeting.
Catch someone off guard.
Exactly.
Maybe overhear something they didn't want him to hear.
Or, he might find an employee working late, burning the midnight oil. They might be a little more willing to let something slip about a project going off the rails when they're, stressed and tired.
Right. They're not really thinking about, keeping up appearances at that point.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Or he might just stumble upon a team having a casual conversation, in the hallway, revealing stuff that they would never, ever share in a formal meeting.
So it's about being present.
Being present.
Observing even, or maybe especially when people think that the show's not on.
That's when the real magic happens.
This has been fantastic.
It has.
Really enjoyed this. A peek behind the curtain.
It's a fascinating world.
Of Allan Smithee. Those unconventional tactics.
The man's a legend for a reason.
He really highlights how much we can actually learn if we just kind of, open our eyes a little bit. You know what I mean? Look beyond what's right in front of us.
Curiosity is key.
Curiosity is key.
Never underestimate the power of observation.
Allan Smithee, everybody. Due diligence. Not just about crunching numbers.
No, it's about understanding people, understanding those hidden motivations, those subtle cues, because that's where the real story lies.
Become a detective of information. Always be on the lookout for those revealing details, those little things, those hidden truths that really, at the end of the day, make all the difference.
And on that note, deep divers.
Until next time.
Yeah.